published 1730 EDT, the 28th of October 2017, updated 1730 EDT, the 28th of October 2017. I didn't pay too much heed to the poll last week that anointed Cristiano Ronaldo the best player in the world for the second year in a row. Ronaldo is an amazing player, but his talent, based largely on his majestic athleticism, will always be a pale shadow of the genius of Lionel Messi. Messi's the best player in the world. That FIFA award ceremony in London was just white noise. It's subjective, of course. The vision and the dribbling of Messi lift my soul in a way that the Terminator brutality of Ronaldo never could. Lewis Hamilton should be recognized as the greatest active British sportsman. If you put Ronaldo ahead of Messi, then you like football for different reasons than me. That doesn't make me right. It just means you value power over beauty and narcissism over selflessness. Whatever floats your boat. A debate of the same genre is raging in Formula 1, too, as Lewis Hamilton goes into the Mexico Grand Prix on the brink of becoming world champion for the fourth time. His boss, Mercedes executive director Toto Wolff, says it is only a matter of time until Hamilton is recognized as the greatest F1 driver in history. That's a big one. It's hellishly difficult to compare across the eras, as those of us who worship Messi, Zinedine Zidane and Pelé will attest. Once again, there is no correct answer. There are statistics, sure. There are fastest laps and pole positions and race wins, but they can be misleading. That's the beauty of the argument, really. It depends on what you love. First of all, would a fourth title make Hamilton the greatest British driver ever? I think so. In purely numerical terms, he would overtake Sir Jackie Stewart and become the only Briton to win more than 3 drivers' championships. He already holds the record for the greatest number of pole positions in the history of the sport. Those who saw Jim Clark drive would make a case for him. He won 2 world titles, but how many more would there have been had he not been taken so tragically early in that solitary, unseen crash at Hockenheim in 1968? At the time of his death at the age of 32, he had won more Grand Prix and achieved more poles than any other driver. Hamilton is on the verge of winning his 4th World Drivers' Championship title in F1. Andy Murray is often looked on more favorably, but Hamilton's achievements are incredibly. Others would place Graham Hill in the conversation, too, mainly because he remains the only driver to have won the Triple Crown of Monaco Grand Prix, Indianapolis 500 and Le Mans 24-hour race. Sir Jackie was a brilliant driver who also saved countless drivers' lives with his campaigns for greater track safety. Anyone who has ever driven around the old Nürburgring where Niki Lauda was so badly injured in 1976 will realize quite how exposed and vulnerable F1 drivers once were. I did not see any of those British drivers race, but I did watch Nigel Mansell. Purists scorned him, but I loved the excitement he brought to racing and his refusal to back down. My favorite F1 footage is still his wheel-to-wheel duel with Ayrton Senna at Barcelona in 1991. He won only 1 world title, but that is not always a measure of greatness. Sir Stirling Moss never won a championship. But Hamilton deserves to be above them all. He is an attacking, thrilling, seat-of-the-pants driver like Mansell. He is without rival in qualifying, and he has chosen his teams carefully. Fernando Alonso may be one of the greats of F1, but he has wasted much of his career in bad cars. Anthony Joshua is another man challenging for the plaudits, but Hamilton comes out on top. Hamilton made the move from McLaren to Mercedes at exactly the right time, but he is also one of those rare drivers who can rise above the weaknesses of a car and wring extra from it. Michael Schumacher could do that, and there have been times this season when the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, whose 4 world titles Hamilton is so close to emulating, has seemed the better car and has still been forced into second by the Briton. When man beats machine, F1 is at its most thrilling. Sometimes, Hamilton does not get the credit he deserves. He is not regarded with the same affection as, say, Andy Murray. And yet Hamilton bestrides his sport while Murray has played so much of his career in the shadow of Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal and Novak Djokovic. There is something that the British love about Murray. His humility, perhaps. His work ethic. The fact that he is constantly the underdog and that he so often stands up for what is right and dignified in sport. When it comes to popularity contests, such as the BBC Sports Personality of the Year, Murray beats Hamilton hands down. The driver is obviously searching for identity in the full gaze of the public. Perhaps that is because Hamilton is not a clubbable man, too. He is hard to categorize. He makes some older fans of F1 feel uncomfortable. He is a man who is obviously searching for identity in the full public gaze, but if he clinches the title, only Juan Manuel Fangio and Schumacher will have won more championships than him. Maybe we feel we can identify more with Murray, Rory McIlroy or Anthony Joshua, but it really is rather hard to argue against the fact that Hamilton is the best active British sportsman at the moment. Chris Froome, the bankruptcy of cycling and of Team Sky in particular counts against him, I'm afraid. But Hamilton is the greatest driver ever, not yet. It is easy to forget, now that Schumacher lies stricken at home in Switzerland, what a brilliant driver he was, right from the time he climbed in a Jordan at Spa to the times when he made his car dance in the rain in Spain to the unparalleled hegemony he achieved with Ferrari. Chris Froome's challenge is diluted by the controversies which have infested cycling. Hamilton is not his equal yet. Longevity may yet fix that, but it will be harder for him to overtake Senna. He has already eclipsed his numbers, but he may never vanquish his legend. Hamilton is a huge Senna fan himself, so maybe he would not want to. Senna remains the greatest in my eyes. Maybe that is because my time reporting on Formula One coincided with his last years in the sport. Maybe that is because in the third F1 race I ever watched, the European Grand Prix at Donington Park in 1993, Senna produced a performance so mercurial and daring that I could scarcely believe what I was watching. Driving a far inferior car to the Williams Renault of Alain Prost, Senna waltzed through the Leicestershire squalls in his McLaren Ford to produce what many consider to be the best opening lap in F1 history, overtaking 4 cars in treacherous conditions and going on to win a race he had no right to win. Death robbed us of Senna the following year, and, as with Clark and so many others, we can only imagine what he might have achieved had he lived. Hamilton is racing against ghosts now because among his peers, he has no equal. On Sunday, Hamilton will be going for World Championship victory at the Mexico Grand Prix. Greg Clark's horror show appearance in front of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Digital, Culture, Media and Sport was met with one final scream of disgust last week when Andy Woodward, a courageous victim of football's once secret culture of child abuse, revealed how he felt humiliated by the FA chairman's testimony. Clark had described how a victim of the abuse scandal had cried like a baby when he met him, and Woodward felt the reference must be to him and that it stood for yet another betrayal. Clark is awfully good at saying he will do the right thing and not so adept at proving it. Greg Clark is awfully good at saying he will do the right thing and not so adept at proving it. The testimony of 2 men who bore witness that Ben Stokes was defending them from a homophobic attack when he became embroiled in a brawl in Bristol adds some much-needed context to the footage of the fight itself. It also adds to the body of opinion that if no charges are brought against him, there is no reason why he should not join the Ashes Tour of Australia this winter.